Hello learners, welcome to this program titled Formulating Objectives, Some Do's and Don'ts. I am Shutapa Bose, I teach at the School of Education IGNOU. There is a famous story, Alice in the Wonderland. Many of you are familiar with this story, some of you might have read this story. This story is about Alice and her adventure. She happens to ask a cat that, how do I reach there? The cat asks her in turn, where do you want to go? Alice says that I am not sure. The cat replies that in that case it doesn't matter, the way doesn't matter. So this story is something that tells us that until and unless we know where we have to go, the path really doesn't matter. Therefore, objectives tell us where we should reach, and this gives an idea of how to reach there. The learning experience and assessment also depend on objectives. Objectives are therefore essential for developing SLM. I have with me Professor Vandana Singh. She is a teacher educator at the School of Education, IGNOU. I would ask Vandana, first of all you tell us that why do we need to formulate objectives before we start writing SLM?
See, any kind of learning is always goal directed. Right?
True.
So learning is is seen as a change in the behavior of the individual, and it is overt in nature, right? So if I talk about learning, and when you talk about learning and this change in behavior, it is nothing but a intended change which you want to bring out in the individual. So when we write the SLM, or when we whenever we design the learning, it is essential that those intended outcomes need to be specified. So these intended outcomes are known as objectives. So if one has to define objectives, it has to be nothing but these are clearly stated statements, and they are unambiguous description of our instructional intent.
And there is also a difference between goals and objectives. Often these are used coterminously, synonymously, but we being from the field of education, we know that there is a difference between goals and objectives. So what is the difference? And while you answer this question, you might also answer that what are the characteristics of objectives?
Sure. See, when we talk about goals are these are broader statements. So they are very generic in nature. I will come to the example also later on. Let me also talk about objectives. When you talk about objectives, unlike goals which are much broader in their scope, the objectives are much specific in nature. So therefore, any objective, these objectives are nothing but these are steps to reach the goal. So there could be many objectives for a particular goal.
True.
Okay, let me take one example. Now, for example, we offer one program at IGNOU, that is Postgraduate Diploma in Educational Technology.
Yes.
So the goal of the program is to basically, help the learners to equip with the skills of using educational technology effectively. That's the goal of the program. But then this goal is achieved by specific objectives because our content is dealt separately and which is spread throughout, as a self-learning material. So therefore we have a specific objectives for that. For example, the students will be able to select the appropriate technology for delivering the content. The students will be able to, compare the different technologies and make use of it in delivering a particular content. So here if you compare both of them, the goal was much generic, that was to use the technology more effectively. But here the objective specifically was that students will be able to identify the technology and then use it. So it is more specific, that they will be identifying the technology and then specifically using it for effective delivery of the content. So this is the difference between the goal and the objective. Now coming to the specific characteristics, what objectives are. So objectives, first of all, they are very specific in nature. When I say specific, that means they are they are very narrow in their scope. Okay. The other thing is that the objectives should not be written, they should not be double barreled. When I say double barreled, what I mean is in a one objective, you should not put too many objectives together. For example, say you may not write, the students will be able to identify the appropriate technology and describe its use. So these are two different objectives. So what you can do, you can break the objective into two.
Yes, splitting it into two.
Because in any case, we write objectives for because they have to be also assessed. So it is better that we write objectives in a way that they are assessed specifically and individually. Okay. Another thing is that when we write the objectives have to be clearly stated. When I say clearly stated, then by that I mean that you should not use any kind of unambiguous words in that. It should be clearly worded.
True.
And another thing is that there is a question which always comes into our mind, that how many objectives should be there for a particular unit or a particular content. Then I would say that for delivering a particular content, there should not be too many. The number should maybe only restricted to 4 or 5. So that is the main thing which you have to keep in mind while you are writing the objectives.
And apart from that, I would also like to ask you that why do we at all write objectives?
As in the initial part of our discussion, I said that learning is a goal-directed activity. So because it is a goal-directed activity, therefore objectives will lead us to that particular goal. So therefore we must write objectives for our this thing. And the second thing is that since we have to reach out to a particular goal, what is our goal? Our goal is that eventually our students should be able to understand the content which we are trying to deliver. So therefore these objectives, they help us in organizing and selecting the content in a manner so that our ultimate goal of learning is achieved.
Okay.
Second part is that whatever learning is being done in the classrooms or whatever learning is done while the student is reading the self-learning material, the ultimate goal is that they will be assessed on some levels. So these objectives basically help us in assessment also. How? For example, if a particular content, if I am going to only discuss at the level of only understanding, that means the content will be only dealt at, say, describing the chief characteristics of a particular phenomena. So I will be assessing only at that level. Whereas if the content is pitched at a little higher level, then the objectives could be, say, evaluate the present day policy in the context of any kind of a program.
Therefore you mean to say that objectives will help us to determine the assessment criteria.
Yes.
Now you say that we know about Bloom's taxonomy and also about its revised version by Anderson and Krathwohl, and we also know that even though there are 3 domains of learning, cognitive, affective and psychomotor, nevertheless while writing SLM, it is usually the cognitive domain that comes into play. And for this cognitive domain, you may tell us the different levels of learning.
Sure, but I would like to highlight about those 3 domains, because those 3 domains are also essentials for
yes.
for understanding. Bloom has very briefly I will just touch upon it, that Bloom has categorized 3 levels of 3 domains of learning. One is the cognitive domain, then the affective domain and the psychomotor domain. The cognitive domains only deals with the cognitive part of learning, that is, which includes all those processes which helps in acquiring the intellectual skills, like skills of understanding, recalling and even comparing. Those skills, they are a part of our cognitive learning. But the other two parts are equally important. The other two, the second one is the affective domain. The affective domain, it deals only with the emotional part of our learning. That is, it basically attaches the value to that how the student is displaying the emotions or understanding the emotions. That is also an important part of learning. And the third part is the psychomotor, which is basically basically involves the muscular coordination of muscular coordination,
mind-body coordination.
Yeah, mind and body coordination, you may say so. But for each kind of learning, we would want that all three aspects are covered. Like for example, if I talk about teacher education, there also all these aspects are covered. We will come to the examples how they are covered. But there are certain courses even at IGNOU which are heavily reliant only on the psychomotor domain. For example, we offer so many programs in the School of Health Sciences which have a heavy reliant on the development of the psychomotor
and vocational
skill.
courses
and
as
even
well.
The vocational courses as well. But as you said rightly, mostly there is a heavy reliance on the development of the cognitive domain, but nevertheless importance of the other two domains cannot be undermined. So let me now come to the cognitive domain aspect. As I said, this taxonomy was developed by proposed and developed by Bloom, and he had actually proposed 6 levels of cognitive learning, and all these 6 levels, they are hierarchically arranged, which means that if I am unable to achieve the first level, I will not be able to go up to the next one. Let us now go one by one. So, and there is a revised version also which is available. We will discuss about both of them. So the first hierarchical level is the knowledge. Here knowledge, what I mean here, it means that here whatever information which we are giving to the learner, it is at the recall and recognition level. Okay, so that is only a very lowest level of learning. If we move up to the next level, which is known as comprehension, wherein it is little higher level than knowledge, but here what is there? We are trying to see the relationship between the two concepts, and we are making a meaning out of it. Okay. The third part is the application. Application, from here onwards, the higher order thinking skills, they start coming. Application, as the name suggests, it is the application of the concept which is learnt in the classroom, and then we apply it into a new situation. That is known as application. And then comes the analysis part. Analysis is, and when we break down the concepts into a sub-concept, and when we try to see the relationship between the 2 or 3 concepts together, that means we are analyzing into the particular aspect. So that is the analysis. So you can see that while we are moving from down to up, the complexity of the cognitive level is increasing. So next level is the synthesis. At the analysis level, what we are trying to do, we were breaking the concept together and trying to see the relationship, whereas in synthesis what we are trying to do is that we are combining the concepts together to form a new pattern. So that is another level. And the last one is the evaluation, what Bloom has suggested. The evaluation is nothing but it involves evaluating a particular idea or a concept. And in the revised one, there is one more level which has been added, that is the creation. So here something new is proposed out of it. So the level is increasing, and the way these learning hierarchy is being put in the similar way, it has an implication on how we write objectives for each of the level. But here one thing we have to keep in mind, that at what level should we pitch our learning. See, again it will depend on what is the level of my learners. If I am teaching a graduate level student, then it is expected that my learning must be pitched at the last 4 levels of learning majorly, which starts from synthesizing to evaluating to creation.
Yes.
But yes, of course, unless the other 2 base levels are not solid, then I cannot move up to them. But the point is that again the level of the learners have to be kept in mind, and we have to keep our learning, of course, at the higher level. And accordingly, the learning objectives are being set. Now let us see the examples for each one of them. For example, as I said, that at the knowledge level, it is only identifying or labeling. So you can write the objective as define the term osmosis. You are only defining, or say for example, describe the causes of an earthquake. So this is a very simple thing, defining and just describing. So I may only recapitulate what I have learned. So there is no other thinking which is involved. So the next level, which is known as the understanding level, wherein I am expected to interpret and extrapolate the meaning out of it. So what you can do, you can write the objective as differentiate between, say, complex learning and simple learning. Compare the tropical and the temperate climates. So I am moving beyond. So apart from knowledge, I am trying to interpret the meanings and making the meaning out of it. If you go to the next level, which is known as the application level, where you are applying the knowledge in a new situation. So you can say for example, calculate the compound interest using a particular formula. So you are applying the already learnt knowledge for calculating a new thing. Likewise, for the analysis, you may use the action verbs such as analyze, categorize, classify, examine, inspect. But as I said, since it is a breakdown into a sub-concept, so here what you are doing, you will be basically entering yourself at a little higher level. So objective could be, say, analyze the information for population growth and estimate the number of colleges required. So what I am doing, I am analyzing what the population and how it will increase, and depending on them I have to present my idea that how many colleges will be required to meet that particular college, required for particular year. Okay. Then synthesis, right? I have already discussed. The action verbs which you may use is develop, prepare, construct, create. Again, all these terms are basically describing that you are trying to create something new, create, develop or something. So develop a plan for a hotel, develop a blueprint for a particular building. So all these things, you are using the past knowledge and you are gathering that past knowledge to develop something new. And the last one is the evaluation. It is the highest form of learning, and if one can evaluate only when my knowledge level is strong and when I am able to synthesize and analyze the subcons, then only I can evaluate. So unless my other levels are strong, I cannot reach up to evaluation. So evaluation we make value judgment, we make judgments about a particular plan. And how do we evaluate? How do we make a value judgment? We can only evaluate anything when we have understanding about the things. And the action verbs which you may use while writing the instructional objectives could be evaluate, assess, criticize, analyze, justify also. So the objective example could be that evaluate the plan for a building,
an airport or a hotel or a school. So
all this could be, even evaluating a program. Right? So likewise, if we see that these are all arranged in the level of hierarchy.
Thank you, Professor Vandana. And you have explained that objectives are necessary before we write SLM, and why objectives are necessary, and then you have also explained how objectives should be written. I thank you once again.
Thank you so much.